And welcome to our show today. We have Kara Triplett and Aric Harris, the two new board members to the executive board of the Montana High School Association. How are we doing today?
Doing well.
Doing great.
All right. Just a short, brief message. Kara, we'll start with you. Why don't you tell us why you wanted to get her, or why, or how you ended up on the MHSA board?
Well, it's been kind of a goal of mine just in being involved with Montana activities for as long as I have, to continue, I guess, with that. Last year, I had stopped working in Montana and went to North Dakota. And when I came back to the Class C caucus, we heard that they were going to need to find somebody to step in for a year due to Jim Goltz accepting another job. And I started really thinking about, that would be something that I'd love to be involved with just because I love Montana athletics and activities and have been involved for quite some time. And so it was exciting to, I guess, get a chance to think about that and then to kind of feel out what was going on since I had been gone for a year to make sure that I guess understood what was happening, and I just am excited to have this opportunity.
All right, Aric, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of expand a leadership role, across the Class A, not just within Western A or within Whitefish School District. This is my 10th year as the AD. I've seen a lot of changes across the landscape of Class A, and just excited to be a part of that and a voice for the Class A in all of the membership schools across Montana.
All right, Aric. One of the big, I think, concerns in high school sports is officials. I mean, we don't have many young officials coming in, and the ones that we do have, just the retention of them. Aric, if you could hit on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, it's obviously a big issue for all the schools in the membership. And we do need to put more of an emphasis on retention. We are getting more new officials, which is great, but we are seeing about that year 2, year 3 that they're not returning. And so I think we need to evaluate why that is. Are there things that we can do better? I think maybe pay at the sub-varsity level probably needs to be addressed for sure. But a lot of it is crowd control and some of the fans that our officials are dealing with and ADs are dealing with. And we need to set a line there and make sure that it's not crossed. And at the end of the day, anybody that walks into our gym, they have a role, right? They're either an official, they're an administrator, they're a player, they're a coach, or a fan, and everybody needs to adhere to their role and accept that role and not cross those lines.
Kara, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would echo what Aric said about it was interesting to learn that it's the recruitment piece of it has gotten quite a bit better and we're seeing more interest. And I think that's thanks to some of the things that we've, been encouraged to do, maybe get some graduates involved, some high school students taking some classes and then encouraging other people that we know. But the retention piece of it is obviously big. I'm actually in MOA myself, and I understand that, I guess, a little from a couple of different perspectives. But I was talking to Larry Crowder, superintendent at Culbertson, and he and that area, I think Bainville too, do something that they borrowed from Wyoming, addressing kind of what Aric was getting at with potentially something that could help with crowd control, where they have a yellow card and any of the fans entering their gym understand what that means and it's printed in their program. And then their activities directors or whichever administrators are on duty at that time have this gold card, and if they see a fan who's potentially crossing over into getting out of control, they just present them with a card, and the fan understands. And anyway, I'm echoing, I guess, what Aric is saying, that I think crowd control is something that administrators need help with, and I think on the side of retention, from the MOA standpoint, we believe that as well. I just think we need maybe something like that to help support what we're doing with crowd control and some of those kinds of ideas now, taking that recruitment and then the retention piece of it a little farther, having some ideas of how to help. So not saying that it would have to be something exactly like that, but taking a look at extending those kinds of ideas to help with that piece.
All right, Kara. After the incident in the NFL with the heart attack on the field, how do you feel, and what do you think? What steps you think should be taken for health preparedness uh, in high schools? I mean, it's not just football; it could happen in any sport. But what are your thoughts that maybe the schools in Montana need to take a step to prevent something like this?
Well, my initial thought to it was, holy cow, I better hurry up and make sure that we've got those pieces in my school. And then, of course, you're thinking of the broader perspective. And of course, we discussed it at the MHSA meeting as well. I just think from an administration standpoint, it really causes you to take a look at what you have and then maybe look at more collaboration and borrowing and coming up with some sort of a template that schools can start with, just to make sure that their plans are addressing all of the kinds of things that we potentially could see. Unfortunately, this situation was tragic. I mean, it's turning out better. It was very, very scary, but it also has caused us to really take a look at something that's very serious. And so hopefully through administrator and AD collaboration and potentially something that would come through the MHSA as far as just a basis or a checklist or something to help make sure that what we have in place is going to be sufficient. And of course, Montana is such a vast variety of situations from the standpoint of what's available for medical response and medical timing and all those kind of things, that it's really going to be different when you take a look at a Class C school in remote northeastern Montana versus a heavily populated area. So there's definitely some work to be done, and it might just be to revisit those plans that we have in place, but it might also be to kind of bolster what we have there.
Eric, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just having up-to-date action plans for all types of situations that that could occur, a medical emergency, and then looking at partnerships with your local hospitals, I think is absolutely critical. I know up here in the Northwest region, a lot of our area schools have partnered with Logan Health, who have provided an athletic trainer free of charge. And I know that's not a luxury that all the school districts in Montana have, especially probably in the more rural areas of like Northeast Montana. But those resources are critical for us, and having those medical professionals available at practices and events, I think are very beneficial if something were to come up like we witnessed on the Monday Night Football situation. But yeah, I think just having those action plans ready to go, and that people are well trained and then certified in CPR, AED, and having those AEDs available on sidelines at practice and at events, and knowing where those are and how to use them, I think is absolutely critical.
Eric, you bring up a good point there. You mentioned practice 2 or 3 times, and when people think about this, a lot of people I think just think about in the game situation, but we're all aware that this could very easily happen in a practice just as easily as it can happen in a game.
Absolutely. And we try to prioritize our types of practices to where the trainer would kind of need to prioritize her time of, collision sports versus contact sports, and then on down the line. So that's kind of how we prioritize our trainers' time with our activities.
You would think, just a minute, Gary, I'll get to you, but you would think that there would be some organization out there that would be willing to donate some money to have this equipment at practices, so that the trainers and the coaches, I mean, it doesn't do any good to have this training if you don't have the proper equipment at the site.
Absolutely. And I do know that, there's organizations out there that would equip, schools with those resources. And we're, again, just fortunate to have the partnership with Logan Health here in our district. And, the Kalispell schools are utilizing it as well. and then a partnership with our local clinic here in town, where they're supplying doctors for our home games, football specifically, making sure that you have an ambulance ready to go for football specifically, that they're there on site just in case something were to happen.
Kara?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess just from a Class B smaller town perspective, we don't always have access to trainers, and so we really do need to reiterate some things with our coaches and making sure that they know where they can find the support should they need it. And like you say, Eric, places that are school districts or whatever who may not have the resource of the AEDs, and then we're fortunate in the town that I'm from to have good relationships with our EMTs, and I guess we just need to continue to do, but probably make better known those relationships and how to quickly get in contact should an emergency take place. And it just really makes you take a good hard look at what you're doing and making sure that the communication piece is there specifically for our situation and in a smaller school district that doesn't have access to those kinds of things. I mean, for us to get to our local hospital, it's 25 minutes, and that's if you didn't have to wait for somebody to get to the ambulance. So
Yeah, that's definitely an issue in rural Montana. That's I understand that very well. I've been through that situation personally with one of my kids, so it's kind of a subject that's near and dear to my heart. But we'll move on. Talk a little bit about baseball coming in as a sanctioned sport this year. Eric, I don't know if you guys are going to participate this year, but we'll start with you on baseball, and then we'll touch a little bit on flag football with the girls coming, with that maybe becoming more popular as well.
Sure. Yeah, we are participating in baseball this year in one of 22 schools across Montana that are going to have our inaugural season here starting on March 6th. It's definitely a very popular sport in Montana, and I think it's a good thing for the state, great thing for our community, and we're looking forward to it. It's of course it's always a big undertaking anytime you add a new sport, and we're going through some of those growing pains right now of checking all the boxes and making sure we're doing everything that we need to do to get this up and running on time. But yeah, there are some challenges with facilities and obviously the financial impact on your district when you add a sport like that. It's going to be a big time sport that schools are bringing in, and so I understand why a lot of schools are waiting and kind of letting some of these other schools kind of figure out how to navigate adding a sport like baseball. But and the other thing is the weather in Montana doesn't always cooperate in the springtime, so just kind of how to navigate that and rescheduling. But I think the MHSA has done a great job with preparations for schools and districts to add this program, and it's going to be an interesting spring for sure.
Kara, your thoughts?
I think that anytime we can add something that students are interested in that's going to increase participation in activities is obviously a plus. And so that's exciting. And I know that it'll be exciting for student athletes to be able to participate in something different. And they may have been waiting for this for a while because we're on the North Dakota-Montana border. We've seen success in North Dakota with baseball. I mean, they've had high school baseball for a long time. And so kind of wondering if it would break through and Montana would become a place which would offer that through their high school association. So it's pretty exciting from that standpoint. I know that for smaller schools, the more sports that you have, of course, we only have a pool of certain probably lower amount of pool of athletes to draw from, so just kind of wondering what will happen there. But right now in our area, Sydney is offering baseball, so they'll be involved. So we've got somebody in our area that's going to have that available at the high school level. So if we have student athletes who aren't able to participate because we don't offer it at our school yet, or maybe down the road we would, at least they would have an opportunity to potentially co-op with a team that was relatively close. So that's exciting, I guess, just from the standpoint of being able to offer it and have kids participate in something new.
Flag football. Carol, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts? That seems to be kind of a hot topic. The Atlanta Falcons gave a presentation, to definitely help with startup cost of schools. There's a handful of teams that did it this year and seems like that was successful. What are your thoughts on flag football?
Yeah, I think that's also exciting for the same reason as the startup of baseball, just something new and something to encourage participation, give athletes another sport for them to get to a chance to participate in. It was neat to have the representation from the Falcons and the idea that you could at least give it a shot and not have to have such a big financial contribution from your school just to kind of test the waters. I thought that was a neat way to roll that out, and I'll definitely be, I guess, visiting with our board about what they have to offer. But again, we're smaller schools, and so we don't necessarily have the amount of athletes to generate a full team. I guess from our standpoint, if there was interest for ladies to be participating, it might be in a co-op of some sort, but kind of exciting. It was fun to see the footage of the games that they had too. Looks like something that girls would like to participate in for sure.
Eric, your thoughts on the flag?
Yeah, I agree with Kara. I think, it's a great opportunity for, more students to be involved in something outside of the normal school day. And I think what the Atlanta Falcons are doing is incredible. And, the footage that we all saw, this weekend was great. And actually, one of my good friends is the head Glacier girls coach for the flag football program. And, he speaks very highly of it. And I see, the impact that program's having on these young ladies' lives. And it's incredible. And, just the financial support and all the support from the Atlanta Falcons is great. What we see, and I know Kara touched on it, is, pulling kids from other programs that already exist into a new program, and you're kind of leveling the playing field, so to speak. And talking about us specifically, when, we have a strong girls soccer program, we have a strong volleyball program, and adding another fall sport, it could cause a kind of a unintended ripple effect, if you will. And so I think a lot of schools are going to continue to evaluate it, just like a lot of the schools are kind of on the outside looking at baseball and watching what other districts are doing with baseball. I think you're going to continue to see some of that with girls flag football.
All right, we'll wrap it up with the final subject here. Kara, we'll start with you. Just give us your thoughts on the future of high school sports in Montana.
Well, I think that things are looking great. I mean, of course, we always continue to have challenges, and we seem to be able to, as a group of people who care about high school sports, come to some sort of agreement. And it's great to, I think the MHSA meeting really shows people being able to come and discuss, and a lot of times getting all sorts of different perspectives and gathering information in order to continue down the path of successful athletic programs at the, within the state, but also at the local level. And so it's exciting. I think the new sports and the different kinds of things, or the trial of the new sports, I guess, and the different kinds of things and opportunities that we're giving our student athletes seem to be certainly high. And of course, there are going to be the challenges, probably what we talked about with the officials. The recruitment and retention is going to continue to be a big challenge. That's probably the number one thing that we're going to be looking at, that are going to have a direct effect on our activities and what we can offer. So other than that, I'm excited.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I think with what we have going on in Montana right now, as far as our activities, is great. And we have a very cohesive group of activities, administrators, superintendents, principals, that we're all in it for the same reasons, and I think that's what makes it so special in Montana. Like Kara mentioned, we have a number of challenges that we got to work through, and there's probably more on the horizon that we don't even know about yet that we're gonna have to work through. And some of the geographical challenges that we face with conferencing, and just looking forward to being a part of this group and working together to find solutions to resolve some of these issues and continue to make positive changes for the membership schools. I think the shot clock was a big thing that we brought in, and it's been great. It's been a positive change, I feel, just talking with the other ads and coaches. So just looking forward to being a part of this organization and doing the best that we can for all the Montana schools.
All right. Well, Kara and Eric, I appreciate your time this morning, and good luck on your terms on the board.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
And I'd like to thank our guests that come on the show and talk about Montana high school sports. Without them, this show would not be possible. And once again, if you like this podcast, please click on the subscribe button below to get alerts when we have up a new podcast.